Are up, and we will check the feeds here. Hey, April, how the heck you doing this fine day?
Good. How is everybody? How are you doing? Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday to you too. What a day. We're making important social distancing decisions here in the Dotto household.
We are.
The McDotto household. My wife's name is Shannon, by the way. So McDonald is her last name. So we call ourselves the McDottos. So for anybody that's curious.
What are you doing?
Okay, now you are muted there. Why are you muted?
I don't know.
I'm looking here at the screen, and you're black. Let's take a look at the other feed here.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, there's no you. Is it because? Is that better? Is that going to work better?
I don't see me.
I don't see you either. Mute your mic. Unmute your mic. Is your camera muted?
Nope.
Turned off?
Now my camera is, but no, I just turned it back on.
Is your camera muted? Now I think. Whoa. Do it again. Turn it on and off.
Now my camera is, but no.
Sorry, folks, we're getting using a new tool. So I see you here in my feed properly.
It's bizarre.
Molto strango. Now, where am we getting that crosstalk from?
It's bizarre.
Do you have me on your headset?
I do. I just muted. I put the live on Facebook, so I just muted that. So hi guys, hi Cheryl, hi Pat, hi Al.
Hey everybody. So we're going to try and figure this out.
Using a new tool today.
Oh, there you are.
There it is.
There it is. It took a little while to kick in. Oh, I'm glad you're there.
It's like all fuzzy.
Now if you look in the chat, you can see where people are on with us. You can see they got a Facebook badge and they have a YouTube badge. Those that are there with Facebook and those that are there with YouTube. So we're using welcome to one of our Gray Matters unscripted live streams. This is a new venture for us as we're kind of exploring taking the daily live streams that we did while we were at the B School boot camp and moving them into something that's a little bit more permanent and that we can repeat on a weekly basis. So we're playing around with the format. We're playing around with the day it's going to be on. We're playing around with the tools. Normally we use Ecamm Live for those of you that watch our live streams, which is a terrific Mac switching app. But we want to be able to go into multiple streams at the same time, multiple feeds. As you can see, we've got some of you here on Facebook. We've got some of you here on YouTube. And this is terrific. I'm loving the way that the chat is coming in.
The only thing I don't see is where we can comment from this tool in the chat to both.
To both? Well, if you go down to the very bottom, you should have a can't you comment to the bottom?
In the private chat window I can, but not in the live comments.
You can't go. Well, you click beside.
Yeah.
And it says to all destinations. You should have a little ball that says all.
All right. No, I don't. Oh, I see. Hold on.
So it's so going back to what my explanation as April puzzles through the tech quiz we're using for the first time. We normally use Ecamm, and we'll be going back to using Ecamm. Ecamm is adding the ability to multi-stream to multiple channels built in natively into the application. Now, many of you who are live streaming aficionados are saying, wait a minute, Dotto, you could use a tool like Restream to do this effectively. Yes, you can. But using a tool like Restream, you can't schedule multiple lives. We can't put it in the schedule as most of you saw it in Facebook or in YouTube, and we can't. So you can go live instantly to multiple streams, just kind of popping up. But we don't want to be just kind of popping up. We want to be a destination that you choose to come to and that you can schedule and you can plan to visit us. So that is why we do it. So that's why we do it this way. See, you're there. Hello.
That's on the private chat. It doesn't allow. I don't have a drop down to send it out to everybody.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Well, you can always just comment there in the Facebook side, and that's all fine. Now will everybody see it? Interesting. No. Let's ask. Okay. So maybe I have to post all of the comments right now until we can figure that out. So down in the bottom of your chat, I'm going to just share my screen here for a minute, just so everybody can see exactly what we're doing here. I'm going to share my
I
entire
really
screen.
appreciate you giving your patience today, guys. We're trying this new tool.
Oh,
Hey, Deb.
They're all here. Nobody's going to complain. Okay. Well, this is really.
I don't have that.
So you don't have this down here at the bottom?
I don't have that. Nope. I only have private chat, and I can chat with anybody that like you privately. But I don't have that. I don't know if it'll even let me share my screen because I can show you what I see.
That's interesting. So okay, so I'll do the sharing.
Can you see? Look, I have nothing.
Oh, I can see. Oh, I can bring your screen up. There we go. There's your screen.
Yeah, I have nothing.
If you scroll,
no, but if I do private chat, see, I have that, and there's no drop down. I just have, and this is the live comments.
Okay.
Thanks, Abigail.
Fascinating. And now let me ask: are people that I can take a look myself? I can take a look in the comments here, and I can see. Yes, we are only getting you. If you're in Facebook, you only get the Facebook comments. You only see the comments from our Facebook community. And if you are in YouTube, I believe you will only see the comments from the YouTube community. Yes, indeed. All right. So I am king of the comments. I get all of the comments from everybody. So that is very, very cool. Okay, and it looks like we got it, but now it doesn't tell me a split between how many people are watching on Facebook Live and how many are watching on YouTube Live. So that's it. Although Facebook seems to be more popular. As I go click back and forth, Facebook has the lead. Come on, YouTubers, pull up your socks. Okay. So the purpose of this live stream is for us to allow us to continually engage with the community that we primarily started as we built our B School boot camp as we led up to the sale of Marie Forleo's B School. So we did a daily live stream for I think 26 straight days, which was a terrific learning curve for us here at Autotech. Oh, before I'm jumping around. The reason that we're using StreamYard today, I was telling you about the Ecamm story. Ecamm can't currently stream into multiple channels natively, so you have to use a tool like Restream, which doesn't allow us to schedule, and we want to be able to schedule. So that's why but StreamYard allows us to schedule into multiple channels. Now, StreamYard is a web-based tool, far less. We have less control, although we do have the ability to bring in other guests occasionally, more easily into StreamYard and things like that. So we thought we'd try it out. Thing is, you got to adapt and use the tools that are available to you. And StreamYard seems to be doing a pretty good job right now. So I'm happy with it. And I love this integrated chat. Thank you, Joe. Joe's a big fan. He says, remember watching me on TV. Thank you, Joe. That's a nice thing for me to see first thing in the morning. Look at this. We have people from Cyprus. You know, it's a global show today. It's a global show. Ken from Calgary. There we go. Awesome stuff. Socks pulled up. I don't know what Carrie means, but
you said pull up your socks.
Oh,
YouTube. They're answering you. They're ready.
She's on point. She is absolutely on point. Thank you. Okay. And it's very easy to put the comments in. Do you have the ability to add the comments to the feed?
I have no ability to do anything with the chat. I'm on YouTube Live and I have Facebook Live and two tabs.
Maybe there's a different way for me to invite you in, which we'll look at for the future. But the guys at Ecamm are building into their platform the ability for us to schedule and to stream to multiple channels at the same time. So we'll be using that once it's available. It's just a better tool for that. Although I love this chat. And you know me and my chat. I'm a big fan of when chat is good. Ken from Calgary and Gail from Alba. So today, the topics that we're going to talk about today is we have two topics. I did an interview earlier this week with Deb Eckerling, who is here in the Facebook group right now. Deb is the author of a terrific book about goal setting. And so what I did is I took about a 40-minute interview and I parsed it down to the most embarrassing parts for Deb about an 8-minute video, which I'm going to try and share with you a little bit later as we talk about goal setting, kind of the practical side. But I also want to talk about how we're adapting to this changing world. And for those of us in the technology space and that are interested in online business, just trying to get our feet under us a little bit as the world struggles to catch up to COVID-19, and we're all seeing. I imagine every single one of us is concerned and seeing profound changes in our community. Shannon just came down to me and said, spring break starts here in Canada this week, so we've got a 2-week grace period that our kids aren't in school, which couldn't have come at a better time for us to take a deep breath and reevaluate the situation here. It's not broken out. We're not in epidemic proportions here, but we don't know, because it's a week ago that the virus would have spread. And so, every day is what were you doing a week ago or 10 days ago that's going to start to manifest. So we're starting to implement social distancing here. Our prime minister's wife has tested positive for the virus. We have small little outbreaks in different areas, but nothing too major yet. In Canada, suffered really quite dramatically during the SARS outbreak 10 years ago. And so, especially in our biggest city, Toronto. So there's a bit of a sensitivity to it, but there's also some systems in place where we've kind of been through it once before, and hopefully we're able to kind of figure things out. I don't know if we are or not, but we're making our personal decisions now about social distancing. And Shan just came down to me, and we love this 2-week break because it means we can go to the gym more. We can be really, and she's saying, no, we're going to closet. We're going to work in place. We're going to do things at home. We're not going to go out into the community or into crowds at all. So she actually just canceled her first week of gym. We work out at a gym where we do classes. And I think I'm going to do the same, and it really breaks my heart. But I think it's the responsible thing to do. So just curious as to how you folks are handling it as well. So that's on a personal basis.
Scary world.
Sorry, April?
It's a scary world. Actually, we got an email last night from Georgia's college that a commuter at her school tested positive for the virus.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and they tried to track it down to what classes, what events they attended. But the challenge is they were in the dining hall. So, we're kind of at this crossroads. I'm like, it's time to just close the doors and hang out inside and pretend we all love each other.
So it's, how do we deal with this? Are we bitter? Do we get angry? Or do we, now I'm going to lead things off with, I think, just a fantastic article from my buddy, Mark Schaefer. Now, Mark wrote this article just, I guess, what day did he post it? He posted it maybe Wednesday of this week, but I'm going to share it here in the link for you. It is it's an article about, he calls it a love letter to the virus. And what Mark says is, okay, it sucks. Mark is a popular keynote speaker. He's obviously having clients cancel left, right, and center. It's affecting his business fairly dramatically, as it will with many of us. But he's saying, okay, well, this is going to happen. So what can I do? How can I, find a silver lining if there is one here? And I think there will be a few silver linings. Obviously, the damage, I'm not lightening the economic and the human toll that this is taking. But as individuals, what can we do? And so Mark is saying, I can take time now to concentrate on developing the skills and working on the projects that I didn't have time for because my schedule was always full with revenue and work-related items. So doing things like, and if you take a look at his article, I encourage you to kind of have a read through it. He's got like 25 things. Rebuilding parts of his website, having more personal conversations, connecting to his friends, writing a new speech, taking on a project that's going to be a week or 2 week long that you really need to focus on. So maybe those of you that have been interested in writing a book, or that have been interested in building a new talk, or in creating a new small online course or something along that line, this is an opportunity to do that. He wants to get more involved in his local community. I'm just kind of picking my way through it. He's fledgling a watercolor painter, so he's going to take time for himself to do that. Maybe, when was the last time you sat down and didn't deal with the distracted nature of your phone, but read a book? Just watched a book or binge watched something on Netflix. I'm sure Netflix is going to be absolutely slammed, as are all the streaming services. And so those are all kind of, he made a list of 25 things that he wants to do to help him take advantage of the pause that is the world slowing down as a result of the virus. So I'm just curious, what are you yet in a headset? First of all, are you even taking it serious? Is it something that you're concerned about and you're willing to change your lifestyle and your habits? If you plan travel, change could have been forced upon you. But are you willing to, are you at the point where you are seriously considering what you're going to be doing for the next 2 weeks, month, 2 months? We don't know how long this social distancing and this kind of the social reaction, how we're trying to prevent the spread by not being in contact with others, depending on where you are. Are you buying into that? Are you willing to make some fairly dramatic modifications? And if you are you looking at that as a hardship, or are you looking at that, or can you look at it as an opportunity? I'm always a glass is half full kind of guy, as April knows. So I'm kind of saying, okay, what are the opportunities here? What can we do that's going to make this worthwhile? So, and I know it's driving you crazy, April, because of your kids. April's got kids that are elementary school age through to university. And so even if you want to, I shouldn't be laughing, but even if you want to, take time for things, you're going to have a house full of kids that are driving you crazy, right?
Yes. And I definitely, it sounds, my concern is them eating me out of house and home and no food at the grocery store because they eat massive amounts of food.
Yeah. Yeah, you said social distancing. It's such an old feeling.
Such an odd feeling. I said that. Yeah.
Carol's right here in Ladner. I'm going to spend time doing the things that got pushed to the back burner. I get what a blessing. So there's Carol. Carol's got I don't know if it's the right attitude, but it's an attitude that if we're doom and glooming and grumpy and all over the map like that, it's going to be torture. It's going to be torture, and it's dangerous because people are going to reject the things that go on. Oh, have you seen some of the news stories of people like going to Costco and buying all of the disinfectant wipes and then upselling them on?
Oh, that's terrible.
Disgusting. Oh,
you know what? I cannot. It's funny. It's funny you say that. I've been served ads for these masks on Facebook the past 24 hours, and I can't believe I reported it actually like 3 times.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. Al said there's a school of thought in the UK we should be mixing to build up immunity. Al, I don't know. Al's a baby boomer too, I think. Do you know that our parents, when we were kids, April, I don't know if your parents did this. It was still a thing. When chicken pox broke out, they would send us to the neighbors who had chicken pox so we would catch it.
Oh, right, because you could only catch it once.
Yeah. So they said, let's get it over with. And if we lose a few of you, big deal.
And I had chicken pox. It was the same. Yeah. I mean, I had the chicken pox and they're all vaccinated for it. So yes. Yes.
Deb says you have to take opportunities to take care of yourself and your people. Absolutely. Since I have to do this now of all of the posting of the.
Sorry. I mean, I'm on the live as well. So
Marie says I'm in Spain and total lockdown. Time to reflect on the way my channel is going and content. And that's it. When I looked at the charts recently, Spain is kind of the next big European country at risk after Italy. It's got the biggest uptick curve. So I'm not surprised you're on total lockdown there. Would you just, Marie, I want you to just post in if you can. Would you describe how you're feeling as anxiety, or would you classify it as fear? I wonder, because right now I feel anxiety. I know I have anxiety because I'm distracted and not doing the things and for me, anxiety causes increased distraction beyond my normal, but I don't feel real fear because I feel that we are going to work this out and figure it out. But I'm curious. I don't live in a country where we're actually seeing, us, being told to stay in our houses and, the kind of lockdown that you're experiencing in Spain and what they've obviously experienced in Italy already. So Steven says 60 millimeters of Purell goes for €9 here. That's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's just,
you can't even get it on the shelf here. Like it's,
yeah. And I liked what you said earlier, Stephen. If you have a moment, look around and check on your neighbors are okay. Maybe someone needs a little help with the shopping or walking the dog. Yeah, it is. And that's going to be that's what I'm afraid of. The biggest thing I'm afraid of is when we start to look on our neighbors with fear, as opposed to looking at our neighbors where we can help. But it doesn't help when you get jackasses buying all of the wet wipes so that nobody else can get one, or all the disinfectant wipes, and then taking advantage. There's a couple here in Vancouver that are buying them up from Costco. They're bragging. Their names are in the news now because they're bragging in the interview how they've made $100,000 in the last week by buying up all of the stock. So they're loading their pickup truck outside of Costco. Then people are walking by saying, "Can I buy one of those off you? I'll pay twice what you paid for them." They're going, "No." And the Costco managers are going, "We don't know what to do." Well, I know what I do.
So I went to the grocery store at 6:30 this morning because I figured they would have a delivery. I actually really needed meat. I didn't realize that we didn't really have any. And I got the last thing of chicken, chicken with bone and boneless chicken. And there was, if I want corned beef, I could buy corned beef for days. There was nothing really? At all. And so I don't know about all of you when you shop, but like when I look at chicken, I always, I like to look at the packages, right? But I didn't have a choice, and I was like, I guess I'm just going to take it. I don't have
that was the last of it. Yeah, I don't know I don't know if our food supply is going to get disrupted. I'm concerned about things like the drug supply. I was at my dentist yesterday, and
you went?
Oh yeah, I went to my dentist. And my dental hygienist said that they're trained. They're constantly dealing with viruses. They're in, they keep things clean, and they're on alert.
Did you see Marie's comment?
She said, I'm gonna bring it up in just a second. Okay. I'm just gonna bring it up in a second. But I was saying that she said that something like 90% of the world's moxicillin supply is created in China. So we don't know what those supply chains, what's going to happen with them. So I asked Marie if she was feeling fear or anxiety. She said both, but I don't normally mind to be in the house as we can chill in the sun, but I am fine. I'm really down. So depressed. So it's manifesting as a little bit of depression. And
we're glad you're here today though, Marie.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Hopefully we can perk you up a bit. What does Carol say here? Carol says, I'm a hairstylist. I work in an intimate space with other humans. I'm more concerned about touching money, door handles, etc. Hot yoga is definitely out. Yeah, we're shutting down going to our gym, which for me is a real hardship. But and I was just thinking today, or earlier this week, how much of a blessing it is for this kind of virus spread using Apple Pay and using the using the online payment systems that are in Tap. Your Tap card, so you aren't touching money. I can't remember last time I touched any paper money. But that was always one of the real solid transmission places. I don't have a location for this particular statistic, but my buddy who I was talking to said that he read that normal flu is down 20% because people are following better hygiene. So that's kind of the thing. Deb says Los Angeles is practically closed. Steven's in Estonia. The older generation still remembers the Soviet days. They know how to make a gourmet meal out of potato peels. It's the youngsters who don't know how to cook from nothing. Yeah, that's
the ramen generation.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so that's good. So you guys are giving me some good feedback. It's good to know that that it doesn't sound like anybody is overreacting. Well, obviously people are overreacting, but nobody here in our community is overreacting. And I wonder about even just saying I'm not going to go to the gym for 2 weeks is an overreaction. I don't think it is. I think it's just responsible, because I kind of played out the scenario in my mind 2 months from now with somebody who went to the gym the whole time mocking me for saying I was going to closet myself. Is we don't know what the impact of it is going to be. We don't know where that transmission is going to occur. And so if we stay home and nothing happens, if it grows very gradually and it's very manageable and it doesn't really impact our community the way that it could, then people are going to say, well, you were really silly for staying home. But my thought is, no, it was the absolute right thing to do. And if it does explode, then we're not contributing to the problem even more and exacerbating it. And we're protecting ourselves to a certain extent as well at that point. So that's my thoughts. So I am reacting more strongly than I thought. Last week I would have said, oh no, I'll just continue on leading my normal life. I canceled our YouTube meetup You know, we do things that are kind of casual, that aren't that important. But as April knows, I consider going to the gym to be a really important thing. So now I'm gonna have to figure out how to work out at home. I don't like that. I'm not looking forward to that.
Well, you know, I think the other thing too is you can look at it as time to spend with your family in a way, right? So, like, as much as I'm complaining about my kids eating me out in house and home, I mean that probably more softly than it sounded, because we have games, we can have conversations. I mean, if the internet went down, we might have a problem, but
oh yeah.
And you know, I mean, it's not that you can't go outside. I mean, I do live in a place where I have some land, but you know, so you can go outside, enjoy the sun. So
yep. Carrie says, I'm starting a pop-up Facebook group solely for those holed up at home and just needed some people interaction.
Oh, yep. Great idea.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm thinking about the work that I can get done. You know, the concentrating on some videos. We've just gone through a real sprint, business-wise, with launching the B School program. But maybe we just have another sprint. Maybe we don't bother, you know, taking a breath, but we concentrate and hunker down and get some. Well, we're launching a little bit of a new membership site coming up. So a big membership site coming up. So we'll be able to you know, focus a little bit more on that. Faith says everything's closed in Toronto. That's, by the way, for those of you who aren't in Canada, that's how we say Toronto in Canada. We say Toronto, except for Ripley's Aquarium. Believe it or not. Okay, well, that's interesting that some things are keeping over.
Ripley's, believe it or not.
That's the term, eh? Flatten the curve. Thank you, Gail. The whole idea is it's here now. It's like the flu. It's going to happen. And I don't want to minimize it. I hate the fact that some people say it's just a flu. But not allowing our health systems to be overwhelmed by it. And that's the key, because then you've got the terrible situation that's going on in Italy, where they're literally making decisions on life and death of the social value of people and their survivability as they come into the hospital. We don't have enough respirators. We're going to give them to the people that can use them the most and will survive. So that's pretty tough. Do you think that we're doing enough in the UK? Brian says, from what I understand, UK is one of the just news reports that I've read. It's one of the ones that are most in denial. But you guys have shut down all of your sporting events. That's another thing. That's another thing. Is my son? I was talking to my son. He is in Toronto, and I think a lot of us are going, I'd be okay if there was still sports to watch.
Right.
You know, like there's no sport. It's because there's no sports to watch, there's no sports to talk about. So that is an important pressure release valve for so many of us, to be able to sit down and watch a hockey game or a basketball game or a soccer match and talk about it and wonder about, you know, listen to the talk radio about this player. It's a phenomenal diversion for us. So this is an interesting test from that perspective. Every time that, you know, there's even 9/11 or the other times that we've had this kind of thing go on, our entertainment industry has continued. You know, theater still happened. We could still safely go to movies. We could, you know, we haven't seen this kind of a containment. And so the sports is, to me, that exacerbates the problem, because it doesn't give us that point of distraction. So we have to manufacture that point of distraction ourselves and turn it into, and that takes a little bit of discipline and imagination and support from each other. We all feel for you, Maria. We're glad you're here. I'm sorry that it's hitting you hard right now. And I think that's going to be something that happens for us all as we go along a little bit. Yep, Brian says football is off. Yeah, the schools are still open. And I don't know where you are in your spring break and when you have your normal breaks. In Canada, I'm pretty sure most of the school districts will say at the end of the 2 weeks that they're going to take another period of time. But there's other social challenges too. Listening to the news in the United States, where April lives, and many of you are, the school system is not just school for your kids, but for a lot of the lower income families, it's the best meal. It's the feeding of the children. And they're really worried about backfilling those things. And it's sad that it's hard. Yeah.
And the other thing too, that so like Lucas goes to my middle is in high school, but my youngest is in middle school, but he goes to a Catholic school, and they are doing the Google Hangouts for education learning. But the high school has, for the next 2 weeks, they said they're not doing e-learning at this point because they have to figure out accessibility for some of the kids because they don't have access to the internet at home. They don't have access to computers, and how they're going to be able to, and that's not just here, that's in Hartford, that's around the state. And I'm sure besides the food piece, because the food thing, it breaks my heart because literally the school offers for underprivileged children breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 3 meals a day.
Yeah, that's their sustenance. On the lighter side, Brian says the laugh here is that this afternoon men are speaking to their wives. Oh, am I still married to you? So, because they aren't watching their football matches over there in the UK. Cheryl says that Edmonton schools are staying open. I wonder, just almost every day that goes by, you wonder how sustainable that position is, especially here in Canada where we don't have those feeding issues per se. Maybe in our biggest cities, maybe there's a few in Toronto and stuff where we've got some other issues around school. But I'd be surprised if we do this call next week if all of those schools are still open. I'd be surprised if all of Canada, all those schools weren't shut down. But it's just the path we're on. I mean, you just what can change in the next week that will take us off this trajectory? I don't know. There's no miracle cure, and it's what happened last week that's going to manifest itself this week. So it's like we're behind. We're behind in trying to catch up. I spent too much time reading news and watching this stuff. It's kind of obsessed me a little bit.
It's kind of obsessive, and it's yeah. Although my husband broke out the series Containment the other night, which is like all about kind of this stuff. And I was like, you got to shut this off. Like, why are we watching this?
So shall we distract ourselves for a minute from this? Shall we change topics? I'm going to try and feed a little bit of an interview through here. Deb Eckerling is here in the room. She's in the Facebook group. Deb is an author that's just completed a new book. We've got a link for it. I can, let me drop the link in since you can't. Here it is. Deb, I have known for many, many years as she is one of the really good. Is that going to open? There it is. Oh, I just shared it in comments. That's not going to help. Are you able to click on it in the chat? Error occurred. Wait a moment. Interesting. Let me try it again. Did the link come through? I'm just taking a look in the chats over here.
The link is through for her book.
Oh yeah, it's in YouTube. It's gone into YouTube.
It's in Facebook too.
Oh, okay, good stuff.
Just take
Goal Guide. So Deb is one of the great copywriters that I know. She used to do a lot of work for Social Media Examiner. All of those phenomenal blog posts that came out of the podcast that Mike Stelzner did, that was Deb's work for the longest time, which I just thought was some of the best social media writing on the planet. And Deb is going through some different transitions herself, and she also has a writing group that she's coached for a long time. And so she decided to write a book talking about goal setting. Now, are you a goal setter, April? Do you sit down and set goals?
I do. Can you hear me? Oh yeah. I do. Yes, I do. Kevin and I at the end of the year, we do our business plan for the year, but I do set goals. And I will say that I'm not always, if I have 3 goals and I attain 1, I feel like that's success. I don't try to, because I work a lot in my business instead of on my business. And but this year I have some goals that actually we are using this time to get on achieving that with some of the content we're working on creating and utilizing my teenage free help to support some of that.
we all set goals, I believe, but I've never thought about the process of goal setting. And Deb's book made me think about that. It's like I've always just kind of like, I want that. Now it becomes a goal. And so it's always been very instinctive to me, setting goals, not strategic. Deb has a process that you work through her process so you can determine what the best goal to set. Because you can set a billion goals.
You can.
But practical, attainable, fulfilling goals, I never thought that there was a science or a technique that could help me create that. And that's what I saw in Deb's book. So let's try this. Let's try and watch a little bit of the interview with Deb, and then we'll come back and maybe we'll even try and pull Deb into the call here, and we can just kind of talk a little bit about goal setting for the next 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes, and get our mind off of all of the dire stuff in the world. And we can now start setting goals. And guess what? Now we have some time to start working on those goals almost right away. So we're going to, this is an absolute experiment because I've never streamed into this app. So I'm hoping that I've figured things out right and it's going to stream correctly. Here we go. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
And this is all the stuff that I've been teaching for years and years, which is you can't figure out your life in your head. You have to write it down, look at it, analyze it. Then you can figure out your next steps. So basically the book just lets people, I don't want to say crawl around in my head. That sounds really goofy, but it is basically what I've been teaching for years, but in a very logical, easy to understand method.
Am I allowed to say what your 3 main points are in the book, or are we giving it away if we do that?
Of course.
Okay, so it seems to me.
No, this is the whole point is, and if people could do this on their own.
Yeah. Well, typically speaking, I always thought a goal, and here you can help me. You're now my counselor. I always thought a goal was something that I wanted. But you're saying that in order to determine your goal, it's actually a cocktail of things. Because if I look at.
And this is all the stuff that I've been teaching for years and years, which is you can't figure out your life in your head. You have to write it down, look at it, analyze it. Then you can figure out your next steps. So basically the book just lets people, I don't want to say crawl around in my head. That sounds really goofy, but it is basically what I've been teaching for years, but in a very logical, easy to understand method.
Am I allowed to say what your 3 main points are in the book, or are we giving it away if we do that?
Of course.
Okay, so it seems to me.
No, this is the whole point is, and if people could do this on their own.
Yeah. Well, typically speaking, I always thought a goal, and here you can help me. You're now my counselor. I always thought a goal was something that I wanted. But you're saying that in order to determine your goal, it's actually a cocktail of things. Because if I look at the 3 things that are kind of the 3 main points that you have, you say determine your mission, explore your options, and then brainstorm your paths.
A lot of it, and I am a writer. I've been a writer for a very long time. I learned to, and I say this in the book, I learned to love journaling in high school because I had a wonderful creative writing teacher who said, you have to do 5 pages a week. And it's like magic. When you hit, and a lot of the stuff that I talk about in my book and with my coaching is based on when you get things out of your head. And if you're not a writer, you could doodle or you can talk and have it transcribed or whatever. But the idea is you need to see them in order to figure out what you can do with them. So it starts with determine your mission. But the very first step of determine your mission is to visualize. When you think of the life you want, what does it look like? What is your goaltopia? Yes, Goaltopia. I made up a word. Goaltopia.
Okay. That's a good thing you didn't make that one of the chapter headings. Okay. So, but you said you're a writer and you journal. And this is where I got afraid of your book because I'm not a writer. I'm a terrible writer. And it looked to me like everything that you put in it was homework. I had to write all of these things down. And what happens to people who don't love to write?
I have cheats for that.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Good. I didn't see that.
If you don't love to write, and I was on a panel at a writers conference a couple weeks ago, and we're talking about journaling, and the moderator, who is a lovely, wonderful person was talking about all the benefits to writing. You put your pen to paper. It does something with your brain. And I chime in and I said, that's all well and good. But if you're not going to journal unless you type it, or if the only way you're going to journal and brainstorm is verbally, then you do that. You look at the different things and figure out the little hack that works for you. Profound and deep.
It's not that I don't do notes at all. I'm just showing you my iPad. I mean, I do notes. I don't want you to think I don't do notes. And I do recognize the value or the power of putting something down, how that creates intent and allows you to, and makes it real. So you know what, I tease you about writing. It did look like there was a lot of journaling. It did look, and as a poor writer, as somebody that doesn't gravitate to it naturally and doesn't look forward to the time writing, I just wanted to make sure that I busted your chops a little bit about that for the rest of us.
Oh, can I bust your chops back? You want to know the really cool thing about writing?
Okay.
The more you do it, the better you get.
Yes.
So actually, you could say the book is also for improving your written communication skills. It's like an added bonus.
I'll tell you, the whole concept of just putting down ideas has changed dramatically for me since I got the iPad Pro, and the ability to be able to doodle something down has become far more accessible to me, and syncing it directly into Evernote, which is my digital brain. Those things have, I'm not sure it's made me more efficient, but it's certainly been, I'm far less resistant to the process.
Whichever, this is the thing. I want people to succeed. I want people to figure out what they want. I want them to come up with a plan. So I have made it as easy as humanly possible to figure out. And there are different ways to do things. The best solution is the solution that you're going to do.
Because I want to ask you about the business side. So you historically, so the people listening don't know, but you've been a copywriter for years and years. One of the best writers I know. You just do brilliant work. But you've always served other people's needs for the most part, right? You've always said, what do you need written? And here, I'll write it for you. Is that fair? Is that a fair description?
It's very close to fair. I'm going to edit it because
that's what you do.
Me. And it's not just with the writing. Most of my career has been about supporting other people. So in addition to the copywriting, I work with people who, in most cases, they've had a project that they've been trying to do for a very long time, can't quite get it together. And answer your question, yes, my life has been all about cheerleading other people and helping them. And yes, to be promoting myself, it is definitely a mind shift, but I'm having so much fun.
So what was your determination to get to this point? Did you actually go through this process and that's what led to the book? Is the book a self-fulfilling prophecy?
I've been helping people on a small scale for years. And I had this, one of my main clients went away. And so I said, this is an omen that I need to pursue what I was meant to do, which is help other people achieve their goals. So I created the Deb method using the Deb method.
Yeah. So it was your own coping mechanism. Do you think that most of the people that you help are at a transition phase? Like when you began on this process was when you had a major client leave and you had to backfill. So you had to take stock. You had to sit back and take stock. What are my opportunities? Yes. You had to go through all of this process. Do you think that most people need a trigger in order to get to the point that they really seriously take on the internal reflection and all of that's involved in real goal setting?
Usually it is a trigger.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in the world right now where people have to rethink the way that they are working, right? It's absolutely ridiculous what's going on in the world, but because we live in this techno age, people can work from home. They can reinvent their lives. Over the next weeks and months, people are going to have to make new decisions. And what my process does is going to give people a guide. They're canceling sports, they're canceling events, they're canceling everything, basically. So what do? We reinvent. So maybe you went through this book a week ago and your Goaltopia was creating a major conference around the world. Well, you redo the exercises. Maybe it's a virtual conference. You can adjust, but the tools are there to help you think through the projects you want. You can always be on the lookout for improvement, or even if your job sucks and your life's not great, you can use this book to say, what kind of ray of sunshine? Yes, I said that. You know me. It's totally something I would say. What is one thing I can do that will bring me joy? And if you have joy in one part of your life, it's going to seep into the other parts. And then you never know what can happen.
So that is my good friend, Deb. You can turn on your camera again, April, if you want, and we can join. So that worked okay. That wasn't bad.
Great.
Yeah. I sorry, that was me. The restart was my fault, and it was because I touched something, and I didn't turn off my mic early. I didn't realize that there was going to be a little bit of loop back, so you got a little bit of audio coming back through the mic, but it seemed to work. So guess who we have now? Guess who we can welcome in? We can welcome Deb Eckerling into the stream. How are you doing, Deb?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Hey, Deb. How are you?
I'm happy to be here. I love this platform, this forum, to get people excited amidst all the chaos. It's absolutely wonderful. It's getting me excited.
So what did you think of that the way we put the video together? Because Deb's my first test on doing an interview that I can use for the podcast, but then using it as a basis for conversation for one of these live streams. So what did you think of that?
I thought it was great.
It was fun. It's really interesting watching yourself.
Oh yeah.
Well, and
I edited
your
you to
voice
make
always
you
sound different, right? You're always like, "Oh, that's not me. That's not what I hear."
And because I have the editing power, I'll always make me look intelligent and the other person look challenged.
Don't listen to him. He's fresh.
I'm just busting your chops.
You look fabulous.
I appreciate all the kind words you've said about me, by the way. Thank you. Even with all of the ribbing, as it were. It was fun. It helped me because our conversation launched me on a different project, because that's life,
Right now,
the way it works.
So just for background, Deb is located in Los Angeles, so she's experiencing the entire change in the world from an entirely different perspective, major city. So if anybody has any questions or wants to chat about for Deb about goal setting and the Deb method specifically, so I didn't dive too much into it in that little 8-minute piece that we put on, but Deb has you basically have really fleshed out an entire process that we go through, and those 3 things. The help me about the D stands for
determine your mission.
I can't remember. I got them in my notes, and I don't have my notes open. Determine your mission. E,
explore your options.
Yes, and B,
brainstorm your path.
What struck me is right now in our B School Mastermind, that second part, exploring your options, is so important for so many. And I imagine most of us here on the call right now are the Boom X generation. Baby boomers are Gen X. And understanding what the options are for us for recreating ourselves and reinventing ourselves, I think that's such an important step in the process, because until we see that world that we could possibly create for ourselves, we can't begin to imagine do the imagination process, which is setting the goal, right? It's got to come out of your imagination, which is, I guess, that brainstorming process, right?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. Well, it starts with, determine your mission. What do you want? Why do you want it? What do you want to create? And there are so many things. So the E, explore your options, it's all about the research. What do you know? What can you learn? What skills do you need to develop? Do you need to? Or what can you do with the tools in your brain and your life right now? Then you settle on that big, this is what I'm going to do. And then you brainstorm the routes. So yeah, it's all logic. Think about it. Logic.
So, look at that. I'm very happy. I was wondering when I brought up a graphic if it would go over Deb's face, because she's on the bottom quadrant, but it didn't. They squoze, I don't know if that's a technical term, they squoze all of our video into smaller windows so that it doesn't come up over your face. Look at that, Deb. Isn't that nice? Stephen, asks, is this book also available as EPUB? He's got a Kobo and not a Kindle.
You can read Kindle in the cloud.
Okay.
So you don't need a Kindle for a Kindle.
Okay.
You just need to get it, and then you can click read now in the cloud.
Oh, okay.
That helps.
Okay,
and then
I hope that does help.
And then
Good.
It's a real live book available internationally. So wherever you are, you should be able to get it.
We dropped the link in for it.
Thank you.
Faith says, I love to write, and as Deb spoke, I realized I need to get back to doing it again. So much is able to come out. Yeah. A lot of people share that passion for writing that you have, Deb.
Who knew?
I don't understand it.
And you cut this part off, but I have to share it. When I was in high school, journaling was mandatory. And I was always a writer, and I did bits and pieces here and there. But junior year of high school, my creative writing teacher said 5 pages a week, at least. Some people did like whole binders. I did maybe 10, 20 pages, something like that. But the whole idea of you can't figure things out in your head, you can't, with the life stuff that's going on, you're frustrated, write it down, keep a journal, get all the, not just the good things, or get all the good things, the bad things, the observations, everything, because when it's out of your head, you can look at it, and it's also out of your body. So that's another, bonus benefit. We always overthink things, we replay scenarios. Get it out of your head. It's there. You can look at it, and it's a little less haunting.
I trust you on that. Brian's got a great question. How do you motivate yourself to push off? Do you have times that you feel that you need a kick in the pants? And it kind of reflects with what Faith said, that you get away from the writing. How do you motivate yourself to get to engage the process?
Well, the first thing, and this goes back into part one, which is, determine your mission. What is it you want? What does that look like? What does it sound like? Create the visual representation of this perfect life you want. And then you put it somewhere where you're looking at it all the time. So if you're a screenwriter, maybe you mock up a movie poster with your credit on there. If you're an author, you put your name on the top of the New York Times bestselling list. If you have a product that you want to create, make a mock-up and do a little store, or like a Forbes list, whatever you think will be like, wow, this is the pinnacle. This is something really cool that I want to create for me. Create a visualization and put it in front of you. So if you're looking at it, it's eye on the prize, very motivating. The other thing that's very helpful for motivation is to have more than one thing you're working on at once. I usually have like a bunch between my clients and my own projects. But if you've got like an alpha and a beta, so let's say, and they can be related, they cannot be related. But if you have 2 things that you're working on constantly, if you're stalled on one, you can jump into the other. That'll get going. And then, okay, great. This one's rolling. I feel like working on the other thing. So motivation breeds more motivation.
So by having multiple projects that you kind of seesaw back and forth between, it stops you from jumping off and getting into the Facebook or TikTok rabbit hole where you're just spending time doing something, avoiding the responsibility of that project that you're working on, that you're stalled on, but instead you build muscle memory of having success.
Yes, exactly. You put that very well.
And when you talk about that first step, it's interesting that how you were talking about this visualization and kind of determining what you want that product to look like. I think that we're in a very similar place as we're working through B School with our community there. And I always think that one of the big challenges in the first modules of B School is determining who your customer is, which is a big part of determining what your why is. Like, who are you trying to serve? What are you trying to serve? If you can find any one of those answers, if you can say, oh, I know this is the people that I want to help, or I know this is the problem I want to address, or I know this is the product that I like, any one kind of gives you an anchor point that you can then pull up and you can start to work from. Would you agree?
Yes, you said that really, really well. And it's something else that's part of that first section, the determine your mission, is once you have your mission, you create a motto. So you have 2, 3, 4 words, a slogan, something it can be a theme song, something that you're constantly using as your guide point, but also as your motivator.
Thanks so much, Deb. I think we're going to wrap things up. I think that's fantastic.
Thanks so much for sharing.
Shared it. Yeah, we appreciate it. So where can people find you? Can we drop a link in?
You can basically find me anywhere. TheDebMethod.com is my website. The book, YourGoalGuideBook.com. I also have a community for writers, creatives, and entrepreneurs called Write On Online. And the page is all about posting and reporting on goals. And the group is all about sharing community. And then there's also a group for your goal guide where people can ask questions and get a little bit of help in the process.
Deb, thanks so much. I enjoyed our conversation earlier this week, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next project that you're working on, which now I know a little bit about, and I think is going to be awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everything, and great to see you all.
Good to see you, Deb. Thanks so much. Good stuff. So that's in April. Why don't we wrap things up? So next week we're going to play around with the timing for this live stream. Let us know in the comments if you found it valuable. Always there's on our YouTube, on our Facebook page, there's a poll to ask what sort of content you want. So enter the type of let us know what stories you want us to cover here. But we're also going to play with the day. Right now we're doing it Saturday morning. I'm not sure I'm in love with the idea of us working on Saturdays. I make April come in on Saturdays, and that's so unfair. Although she says, I'm fine. But that's my voice for you, April. I'm fine. But I do want to explore also maybe doing this on a Friday. So I think maybe next week we're going to schedule this for Friday. And I know we're always going to disenfranchise a few people, but we're also going to open the door for a few new other people as well. So, and as these will all be recorded, and we're going to be taking content from this, and we're going to be folding it into the Gray Matters podcast. Public service announcement this week on Webinar Wednesday, which is here. I'll just put in the URL for it if anybody has not yet registered. This week on Webinar Wednesday, we have our good friend Francesco D'Alessio joining us, and we're going to be talking productivity as we look at what's new in the world of Notion, the Notion productivity app. That is this week on Webinar Wednesday. This week's email on YouTube, this week's YouTube video is going to be talking about email bankruptcy, which we talked about a few weeks ago on Webinar Wednesday. And make sure you have registered and sign up and download in your favorite podcasting app, Gray Matters with Steve Dotto, our podcast, which is our flagship product to serve the BoomX community. If you don't know what BoomX is, if you're a baby boomer, if you're a Gen Xer, we share a common value system. We share challenges remaining relevant in the online space. That is what Gray Matters with Steve Dotto is all about. And this new live stream is one of the other assets that we have to support the community. So thanks so much. Love your guys' interaction. Read through it all. This replay will be up on Facebook. It'll be up on YouTube if you want to come back because it was so darn awesome and watch it again. Thank you to Deb Eckerling.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you, April. Wash your hands frequently. I know you do. You overwash. And all of you, stay safe. And if you're struggling, reach out to somebody. You've got lots of friends, lots of people that are all sharing this. We're all in this together. So make sure that you're available and listening with compassion to your friends and to your neighbors as they struggle with coming to terms with this new reality that we're in. And we will get through it all together. Till next time, have fun storming a castle.
Bye, guys.